recipient of the national orders was a man known to many as Mr. X. At the height of apartheid repression, William Henry Frankel spent 25 years secretly overseeing and channeling over 150 million rand to pay legal costs of political detainees and treason trialists. He shared his story with SABC contributing editor Vuyomvoko.
Extremely proud, and feel very honoured to collect this award on behalf of so many people who were involved in the struggle from abroad.
How did it all work? What are the sort of things that you had to do to make sure that it really did work, it made a difference where it matters?
Well, it was an extraordinary story. The IDAF was started by a man called Canon John Collins, who was the canon of St. Paul's Cathedral. He had a very strong view about the abomination of the apartheid system and set up a fund to provide funding for the political trials, the legal costs of the political trials, and to provide money for the dependents of those incarcerated. In 1966, the South African government banned the organisation and made it a criminal offence for anyone in South Africa to receive funding from this organisation he had established. So he approached me and some of my colleagues to find a way around the banning order so that we could secretly smuggle money into South Africa to pay for the legal costs of the political trials and provide money for welfare for the dependents. And it was a very simple system of cutouts, of dummy trusts and what have you. I was known as Mr. X. My identity wasn't known to anyone other than to Canon Collins and to the General Secretary of the organisation. And we appointed lawyers around the world to act as our agents. They had no idea the money was coming from the Defence and Aid Fund. We got prominent public figures to lend their names to say that the money was coming from them. In effect, we were telling lies about the source of the money. But it worked effectively because we were not a group of people who wanted to shout from the rooftops. I did the work for 25 years. My wife, my children, my parents, my extended family, no one knew about my involvement. And for 25 years we secretly managed to send into South Africa, well, it must have been over £150 million, which converted into rands is probably, in today's money, well over R1 billion, I expect. It was huge amounts of money, and we did it secretly all that time. The money was raised from governments around the world, primarily from the Scandinavian countries, who gave money secretly. They were incredibly generous, very supportive. It only worked because we weren't people who wanted to talk about what we were doing. We just got on with the job, did it quietly, and then when Madiba was released in the early 1990s, we brought the organisation to an end. There was no need for it.
Can you still remember some of the special moments or some of the special lawyers that you had to deal with that really made a difference? Anything you can remember just from those 25 odd years?
Well, we literally funded every political trial that took place in South Africa, right from the early treason trial in the 50s, right through to all the Suppression of Communism Act, the Sabotage Act trials. There were many lawyers who gave of their services in the most wonderful way. I mean, people like George Bezos, Sidney Kentridge, many like that, who lent their services. Some of them charged fees, and that was, we had to keep control over the fees. But they were really committed to the struggle, and I'd like to pay tribute to all of them. I mean, the story of IDAF, although it is not a story that is well known in South Africa because it was a secret organisation. It wasn't the public anti-apartheid organisation. It was working underground in a very quiet way. But there were some very, very good people involved. When John Collins died, the chair of the foundation was taken over by a man called Trevor Huddleston. Father Huddleston, he was the Archbishop of the Indian Ocean and Mauritius, a most wonderful man. The General Secretary of IDAF was originally a woman called Phyllis Altman, and when she retired, a man called Horst Kleinschmidt took over from her. The trustees of IDAF were prominent public figures, Eugene Reddy from the United Nations, Ernst Machanek, who was a roving ambassador from Sweden, Thorvald Stoltenberg, whose son became the Prime Minister of Norway, and he himself was a very senior public. We had the most wonderful people who were involved. We also had people who lent their names to pretend that the money was coming from them. You know, people like Lord Mitchison, Lord Campbell, J.B. Priestley, you know, C.P. Snow, Lord Snow. I mean, it was extraordinary. The churches lent their name, bishops, the trade unionists lent their names. It was an extraordinary. One day, someone will, I am sure, write a definitive story of that time and the role that IDAF played in the liberation struggle.
Well, you've been a keen observer, I'm sure, even post-1994 of all things South Africa. What do you think, I mean, of the evolution of our human rights, both our human rights as well as the, justice system broadly?
Yes, I think that when there was the changeover to a democratic government, there were extraordinarily high expectations. Madiba was the most remarkable man, and people thought that overnight he could achieve more than could possibly have been achieved. I think now realism is setting in, that there have been fantastic results, there have been fantastic achievements, but it's going to be a long haul. One's got to get on top of the cycle of violence, the problems of poverty, the problems of education, the problems of corruption. It's going to take time, but I have great confidence in South Africa, in the people of South Africa. It is a truly rainbow nation. I think racism has been obliterated. Everyone gets on. Everyone wants to make things work. So I think I have great confidence in South Africa.
Also receiving